Now, with respect to current affairs, let's see a few current affairs from yesterday. First is the women bills is in. So actually the Lok Sabha has already passed today the 128th Constitution Amendment Bill, which kind of reserves 1/3 of the seats in Lok Sabha. Also talks about reservation of seats in state legislative assemblies, and also talks about the reservation of seats in Delhi NCT assembly. So one thing is that you should know that this is not in Rajya Sabha. The other thing is it links it to the delimitation exercise that is supposed to happen in 2026. So you should remember the 84th Constitutional Amendment Act. If you don't know, please read about it. The 81st and the 84th Amendment Act, and it is based on the census. So the census was supposed to happen in 2021, but because of COVID, now it has been delayed, and we already know that it will happen in somewhere in 2024 or 25. Based on which the rotation of the seats and the allocation of the seats will be done in 2029 for 33% of these seats in the parliament. So, but details of this we'll get to know, and we'll see in the explained section. So this is one news that you should keep a track on. But the task is cut out because of the passage. The passage requires. So this is a constitutional amendment bill of the highest order. So if you have not read the constitution, please read that how the constitution can be amended. There are a number of ways. It can be amended by a simple majority. It can be amended by a special majority of 2/3 members present and voting. It also at times needs because when you change the federal structure, or when you change things like these, then you need ratification of 50% of the seats as well. So or 50% of the states as well. Then you have the census that's supposed to happen, the delimitation exercise, and consensus from the states, as I told you. So it's a long road forward from here. So this is one thing that you need to note. Then the other news with respect to the kind of crisis that has happened with respect to or the nosedived relationships, the diplomatic relationship between India and Canada because of the Khalistan issue. Now the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, whose father was also the Prime Minister of Canada, by the way, and both father and son have this legacy of kind of protecting Sikh extremist elements, fringe elements. Now, why is that the case? You should understand is that in his cabinet there are around 18 members in the parliament of the lower house of Canada, where there are 18 MPs, and within his cabinet also there are certain members and from the Sikh community, and some of the members who are supporting his government are the ones who had called for a referendum in Canada to create a separate kind of a country for by the name of Khalistan and kind of get separated. So it is that kind of a political support that he's getting. And I think because of the electoral compulsions that is there, that he's been forced to make such statements. But despite that, what Canada has said that India has been involved in terms of killing off this particular terrorist, or so to say, I would say Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was basically espousing the cause of Khalistan, and the evidence has not been given, but it has been shared by Justin Trudeau with other head of the states. Now there is another set of groupings that you should know about, which is Five Eyes Alliance. This Five Eyes, just a second, folks. So yes, the idea is that this Five Eyes Alliance you should be aware of. Now this Five Eyes Alliance includes US, UK, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. So these are 5 countries which share kind of relationship between them with respect to security initiatives. So if you go to page number 2, you will find this 5 alliance partners. So if you see this, you will have these 5 alliance partners that are there. So India has, although this part of the article says that India has a huge trade with them, India has a huge representation of diaspora, so we cannot ignore that. But the trade is still not at the level that it could be there. India also receives a lot of FDI from Canada. Apart from that, one of the major sources of income for us is the the pension funds which invest in India. So that is another area where Canada is important for us. So this is there, but at the same point of time, if you see, there is this Five Eyes Alliance, the intelligence sharing group of US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and all of these countries have said that, although they have not named India, they have said that we are talking to India with respect to this. But at the same point of time, if you ask me personally, that what is the take of this, I think we should be as a strong nation. So India is responding just like Israel would have responded through its Mossad. So you can't although these are extrajudicial killings, but at the same point of time, we know that Canada is not going to bring justice, or Canada is not able to contain these fringe elements. So some kind of action has to be taken then. But I don't, if it's asked in the interview, be very diplomatic about it. Don't take this line of thought. Okay. So because you really don't know what has happened, whether they have done it or not, it is not in public. Then another important news with respect to health is that WHO red flag. See, remember Lancet's article? If you remember Lancet's article a couple of months ago, Lancet had mentioned that around 107 100 million people in India were predisposed to your diabetes. So that is one area that is a problematic area. The another area that is of real problem is that around only 37% of Indians are diagnosed with high BP, and only 30% gets treatment. And this is a major cause of heart attack. This is a major cause of death, and this is something which is undiagnosed, which is undetected. People don't get it monitored, and that leads to a problem of hypertension, and then heart failure, kidney failure. So these are other issues, and the causes for this is very obvious. Smoking is one cause. The kind of sedentary lifestyle that we have without exercise is another cause. The salt intake is extremely high in case of India, so diet is a very important portion. In fact, I know of a legend in civil services. He's called as a legend because in 2002 he was the topper of IAS. Ankur Garg was his name. Legend because he's also from Harvard, and he scored 105 out of 100 marks in one of his exams in Harvard. He's an absolute legend at LBSNAA. He's an absolute legend in the service. But at the same point of time, health is something which is flailing him. So you might be successful at various aspects of your life, but despite all of that, if you're not keeping up with your health, you're going to struggle in some other aspects of your life. So that's why the motivation of this session is that studies will only take you so far. If you are a physically fit person, your ability to perform will be much more higher than your peers. So when you're following these classes, make sure that you do follow the exercise routine as well. Then coming to this thing, high BP, 140 190. If it's more than that, then you have a very high BP, so you should monitor this thing. And you can read this particular article that talks about all the issues with respect to high BP and how many people are predisposed to it. Alongside, it also gives the numbers of the Lancet with respect to sugar, because sugar on all these diseases are kind of complementary with each other. If you have diabetes, you'll also be predisposed to hypertension, and you'll also be predisposed to high BP. So some part of it is now being monitored well by the country. We are giving some kind of medicines. We are giving medicines as well, but at the same point of time, a lot of people are undetected. We need to monitor that as well. Then let's move on to, if you want to read, you can read page number 7, from Canada stand on farms to protest by pro-Khalistan groups, a deepening rift. You can probably read that if you want. Then let's come to page number 9 explained. Now the road ahead on women's quota, as I've told you, that this is the 128th constitutional amendment bill that was introduced. What it does is that it introduces two new articles, 338, 332A, which changes the Lok Sabha and the assemblies, and then it also has seats to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, and it is only in Lok Sabha and not in Rajya Sabha. The other thing is it has a sunset clause. Sunset clause means that after a few years this will not be valid until unless it is extended. So it has a 15-year sunset clause. Then how soon it can come into picture? I have just told you that first the elections will happen, then the census will happen, then the delimitation will happen, and only in 2000, and then you would have to fix certain seats that in each particular states which are the constituencies which will be reserved for women. That needs to be done, and that needs to be done by the government. So that decision has to be done, and then you would have this reservation. Then how many seats are reserved for SCs and ST decided currently. So the delimitation exercise or Delimitation Act of 2002 has basically talked about the fact wherever there has more percentage of scheduled caste in a particular area, that seat should be reserved for scheduled caste. If there is more representation from tribes, then that seat should be reserved for tribals. So that is how the Delimitation Act 2002 lays down. And what are the constitutional amendments that needs to be done? Article 82 and Article 170 subclause 3 needs to be amended for this because they talk about the number and boundaries of Lok Sabha and state assemblies. Both of them needs to be taken care of, and this reservation is already there in Article 243 subclause B, not subclause B, Article 143D, which basically talks about the reservation of 1/3 of members in the local panchayats and municipalities, which is already there in India. So this is the overall summary of how women's quota is there in the country. Then if you compare numbers, India is around 14.4% representation in its lower chamber, whereas if you see Mexico, New Zealand, Sweden, all these countries have a very high percentage. And this is what we are trying to increase. We are trying to increase the 78 to 181 or 182. Then how Iran and United States successfully swapped prisoners. You can probably read this. It was managed by Doha, basically Qatar, and $6 million was also released, which was there in Seoul. So while Donald Trump had put sanctions on and basically came out of the Iran nuclear deal was signed by Barack Obama, and Donald Trump had backed out of that and put certain embargoes on the exports of oil by Iran, and South Korea is a major buyer of Iranian oil, and those reserves, that $7 billion that was kept in Seoul, was freezed by US, which is again called weaponization of dollar. This thing has again happened during the Ukraine-Russia war, and this thing is called as weaponization of dollar, which is done by US, and because of that you have something called as de-dollarization. A number of countries are moving away from dollar as a source of international exchange, as a source of international currency. Remember this word de-dollarization. It has been in news. It might be asked from you, from the people who are appearing for this year's interview in the Indian Economic Services. Then, apart from that, you have this Khalistan issue, that how Khalistan has cast a shadow on India-Canada ties over the years. And this talks about the fact that this is not new. India and Canada has been at loggerheads because of this Khalistan issue from 1980s. When this issue was very spiked up in the early 80s, and then the Operation Blue Star happened, and then Indira Gandhi's death, and all of that was there. But one of the major issues that you might not know is that in 1985, Khalistani had blown up airlines. They hijacked an airline and blew it up, called as Air Kanishka, in which 331 passengers were killed. So it has been a major source of irritant between these two nations. Now, and if you see, there are around 30 members in his cabinet, Trudeau's cabinet, of which 4 or 6, and India's parliamentarians have actually refused to meet Justin Trudeau. They have not met the defense minister. They are giving him a cold shoulder because of his associations. In fact, he had also He had also called people on and met people recently which were accused of terrorism as well. And there was this report called as Public Report on Terrorist Threat in Canada in December 2018, which talked about Sikh extremism in Khalistan. And in 2019, that report that mentioning of Sikh and Khalistan extremism was removed. And you'll be surprised to know in Quebec in 1995 there was even a declaration, there was even a referendum that was there to take independence from Canada and have a separate state of themselves. And why is Justin Trudeau taking these actions is because in March 2022 his new alliance has got in touch with Jagmeet Singh, who endorsed this Khalistan referendum. So there's no questioning why he's so vocal about this particular issue. And then the during the militancy era, Khalistan government in exile was set up there, and it was also protected by Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, who had also failed to exercise Talvinder Singh Parmar, who was also basically the mastermind behind the Air Kanishka bombing. So this has been a major issue, and both countries needs to sit on table and resolve this issue diplomatically. So these basics you should have a fair idea about. Then let's go to the editorial page, folks. Few good articles. For a long time I've been reading Pratap Bhanu Mehta, and his article was good. I don't agree with him, but it was good. It was readable this time around. So if you see the first article, Welcome Women. So it talks about the fact that how this 27-year bill now has been introduced, and currently the reservation is the number of representation is only at 15%, and it does not. And I'm going to link with another article. There's another article written by a professor of Lakshmi Bai College. Now the combination of these two articles basically says it's not just, even if and if you've seen this series called as Panchayat on Amazon Prime, where you have your Sarpanch Pati. So even if you have reservation, women are there as say nominal heads, and their husbands are heading this, just like Rabadi Devi and Lalu Prasad Yadav was there. But at the same point of time, what you need to see is that even if it's a figurative head, the fact that a woman heads a particular institution and has a representation, it gives encouragement to the overall society. Women can then come to that particular women and tell problems. Another area where this empowerment helps is that domestic violence goes down whenever you have women representation. The confidence of women in terms of addressing people goes up, and it gives a kind of a signaling, even if it's at a nominal face value. It gives a signaling in the society. Yes, these women are there and they're at major positions, and that also leads to women empowerment. And I'll give you a small example. It's not a casuality. I'm not saying X because of X, Y has happened, but I'm just saying casual inference that is there. If you see in the last few years how Bangladesh has improved as a country in terms of its social parameters, and it overlaps with the term of Sheikh Hasina. That is again a kind of a reference that you can see that women leaders and women bring something else to the workplace, to the environment. And this also brings me to this particular quotation that you can use in your answers, that women belongs in all places where decisions are being made, whether that's household or that is politics or that is governance. So a combination of all of this you can see, and then maybe think of an answer, think of your own view on this particular topic. So this particular article is on that. The name of the bill is Nari Shakti Vandhan Adhiniyam. So this government is introducing all these adhiniyams now. So people from South will have a lot of problem remembering names of these articles. So this is something that you can read. The other is in troubled water. So in troubled water, as I told you, that Canada has made unsubstantiated these accusations that Indian government's role has been there in terms of killing this person called Niger, and they've expelled a diplomat from Canada who was accused of basically all these activities. So basically, if you are from the intelligence agencies and you need to be provided some kind of a safety cover, and so what you will be done is you will be posted in that particular country as a diplomat, so that you have this diplomatic immunity under the Vienna Convention. So maybe you can read about this Vienna Convention as well, the Vienna Convention, and what kind of protection that it gives. Similarly, India has also done a tit for tat, and India has asked one of the Canada's diplomat to leave India in 5 days, which is called as persona non grata. That person is not welcome. So you're basically saying that in 5 days pack up your stuff and go back. So this is tit for tat, which is not good for your diplomacy. But at the same point of time, I've already given you my views on this particular topic, because Canada is suffering this political issue, and it needs to solve this internally as well. Because India is also a sovereign country. India cannot have these fringe elements espouse the cause of terrorism in India. So something needs to be done on that aspect. Then Age of Ambition is a good article which is written by Pratap Bhanu Mehta. Why is it good? I'll tell you, I don't agree with him. I mean, because of the fact that just because he's not in power, he keeps writing the way that he does. But I will tell you that there are parts of this article which are very important, which are kind of poetic in nature, and you can exactly pick this whenever you have to do some kind of a criticism of the parliament, working of the parliament. You can use and reproduce these lines, and that'll look beautiful. So if you see what he talks about is that we have this age of ambition, where we are talking about this Amrit Kal. Everything is new. We are moving into monumental nationalism. We are making new monuments. Just like we have Bharat Mandapa, we have this new parliament. We have these new another convention center that we have opened up in Dwarka. So. And we are saying that India is the mother of everything, and he's saying that we are launching ourselves towards this 2047 mission, that is the Age of Ambition, and we are and it's based on one leader's identity. So this is what he says, and we also acknowledge this fact that this is what the public also needs. This Age of Ambition is what the public also needs, and this is something which the opposition is not able to capture. They are not able to capture the narrative. They are able to capture, sometimes they are able to capture it as fear of losing democracy, but that is not as strong as the Age of Ambition, which is being talked about the BJP. So if you see this, the second part of the article, that is where I really like the content. This is the portion. In this Age of Ambition also marked by new ruthlessness and unrelenting instrumentalism that decimates all dissent and respect for forms and propriety of procedure. Parliament is no longer connected to dignity of legislation. It is simply a staging site for promotion of this Age of Ambition. So there is no deliberation that happens in Parliament these days. Only all this talk. Then it is not it is increasingly personified in one leader, this Age of Ambition. Then it is now, Parliament is not a chamber of acclaim. It is a chamber of acclaim, not a chamber of deliberation. It is not of endorsing executive, not checking it. So it is endorsing the executive, not checking it. Of counting heads, rather than caring about people's head. It is now confirmed by heavy conformity of party whips. Basically, whips are basically ruling this, rather than free thinking of legislature. Indian Parliament was always weak in terms of internal rules that governed. The Speaker had too much arbitrary discretion. The rules of what can be debated and how are not transparent or not codified. The committees can do sometimes good work, but they rarely exercise this kind of oversight. So this entire paragraph is a good critical summary of how the Parliament working is there, and it has gone down in this era. So it's a good article, I would say, but this is not the only country which is suffering from this. If you see United States Congress, if you see France, if you see other European countries, all of them have the same thing, where you have now a very, very bitter relationship between the party which is in power and the opposition. So this Age of Ambition is not just in India, but it is all across other democracies as well. So maybe give it a read. He writes a different point of view. I don't agree to it, but it gives you a lot of good substance to use in terms of critical analysis. Okay, so, but I would again warn you, do not use such kind of language in terms of, do not be political in your answers. Okay, don't touch that political nerve. If you're writing all of this, that's okay, but don't use the word BJP, don't use the word single leader, do not identify with a political party in your answers. Then another thing in art and culture, you can probably know that Amrita Shergill's work. So there was a record sale of her 1937 painting, The Storyteller, which was sold in 16 September for 61 crore rupees. And she's made a number of paintings. She's also famous for a different style of painting. She used to paint nude people. That is one style, and at that time, imagine 1930, she was so bold to paint in that ways. Whereas in that point of time, it was the Bengal school of art that was basically talking about Indian nationalism. And here comes a lady which talks about ultra modernity, and was able to paint in 28 years. She lived for 28 years, and in 28 years old, she gave a lot of masterpieces. And in fact, fun fact is that there's a place in Delhi called Amrita Shergill Marg, where I have my own dream house, that I want a house there. It's one of the most expensive places in Delhi. I remember Paytm's owner has recently bought a home there for, I think, 600 crore rupees. So just in case if you're in Khan market, you can probably go to Amrita Shergill Marg and appreciate the kind of houses that are there at the back end. So read about that. Then the next page is a more welcoming house, written by someone who's also standing up for Duta elections. I met her a couple of times. She's from the sociology department of Lakshmibai College, and it's a good article. I've already given you the summary of all of this, the signaling aspect that happens when women become leaders, and even if they are the nominal leaders, it is being led by their husbands. Still, it helps overcome a lot of barriers, and it empowers women. It gives a signaling impact to the rest of the society. So this article talks about that. You can read this particular article. Then the other article, The Future of Eurasia. The Future of Eurasia talks about the IMEC. So, folks, please read about it when you are preparing for prelims. When you're preparing for prelims, there are certain areas in the world that are very important when it comes to mapping. Like this year, there was a lot of questions from Africa. But usually around Mediterranean Sea, there will be definitely a couple of questions. There will be questions on Southeast Asia. And now because of IMEC, I'm expecting a question on Middle East as well. So track this line of how this IMEC links from India to basically Saudi Arabia, and then links two major countries, Israel and Jordan, and then leads to the Europe. So it is basically creating a trans-oceanic kind of a system. Now, why is it trans-oceanic system? It is starting from the Indian Ocean, moving towards the Atlantic Ocean, and then again, because of the impact of the Indian Ocean, it is also reaching to the Indo-Pacific region. So this particular India, Middle East, Europe corridor is going to be a game changer because of its economic heft. But at the same point of time, you should also acknowledge the fact that this basically shows the coming of age in this post traditional Cold War era, where you have countries like UAE, countries like Saudi Arabia, countries like India, which have now got into mainstream in terms of in terms of power politics and geopolitics. And this is what, if you see this thing, you can pick up this line for your answers as well. That Anthony Blinken, who was the secretary, has recently said that what we are experiencing now is more than a test of post-Cold War order. It is the end of it, because it's a new form of order that is being created, and the emergence of all these countries show that this in this post-US hegemony era, this Eurasian landscape is extremely important, and which is also being countered by. Is also being tried to be captured by Russia and China through the BRICS, through SCO. All of them are also doing this, and the Road and Belt Initiative. So all these countries are trying to target this particular area as well. Russia is also trying to target through its north-south corridor. You can read about north-south corridor, by the way, with respect to this. But at the end of the day, we have signed as a memorandum of understanding. What needs to be addressed is the logistical and operational challenges that are there, connecting this, clean energy. All these areas needs to be put into place for this to be in action. So you can read about this particular article. It's a good article. Then let's go on to the last thing of the day, which is page number 13. We have 3 very important articles. One is Bima Sugam, as I've already explained it to you yesterday. This is a game changer in the insurance sector. Think of it as a marketplace. Think of it as an Amazon, where or UPI. As I gave you the example yesterday, in fact, that this will be as important as UPI, because it will bring all people together on one platform. For example, I have a health insurance, I have a life insurance, I have a motor insurance, I have a car insurance, I have a say fire insurance. All these insurances I can buy on the platform, and I just go into my portal, and all these insurances will come on my platform. That these are the insurances that I have, and then we can modify and change these, and all the suppliers will also be there on this particular platform as well. The benefit that people will get out of this is that this thing will reduce, the agency will reduce, the commissions will reduce, and it will help people. Then apart from that, pensions outgo. So there is people for the Indian Economic Services. This is important. Just a second, folks. That's it. So people for the pension outgo. If you see this article is extremely important, which talks about that the pension outgo will increase 4.5 times if you go to this old pension scheme. So old pension scheme is a committed pension scheme where people will get 50% of their last round salary. Whereas in the new pension scheme, what happens is the people will contribute. It's a defined contribution based system, where if you contribute 10% of your basic salary, the government will put in 10 to 12%, and that will lead to the pension accumulation in the end. So read about the old pension scheme and the new pension scheme, and this is an RBI report. You can mention it in your interviews as well. You can mention it in your answers as well, which talks about that that the fiscal outlay will be 4.5 times if states revert to the old pension scheme. It is unsustainable, and there is already an Andhra model that is there, which is talking about some kind of intermediate model between the old pension and the new pension scheme. Then another, Google brings AI chatbot Bard into its inner circle of Gmail and YouTube. You can have an extension. I'll try it out today if it's applicable there. So you can use it directly in your Gmail and your YouTube as well. Then another article is the government is talking about the transition time for consent mechanism within the industry. So the DPDP bill has already been act has already been passed out. Now we are talking about the fact that see, this is where delegated legislation comes into play, where the government has made the act and has said that the rules will be framed later on, and the government is now going to have this graded outcome, where what will happen is that some of the intermediaries will be asked to go for these data protection rules first, and then others will be asked to do that. So this is a graded response. MSMEs and other firms will be asked to do it at a later stage. At the same point of time, we already know from this that that the government can basically say some instrumentalities of state where this DPDP Act will not be applicable. Then you can read this. Government may tweak the PLI scheme for these 3 sectors: the drone, pharma, and technical textiles. That is one news. Yes, that's about it. So with this, let's wrap for the day, folks, and I will see you tomorrow at around 5 a.m. folks. Thank you very much. Say bye, folks.